Hello, welcome back. It's been a while since I've recorded one of these, and this race is actually from July 10th, 2021. It is now January 25th, 2022, so it's been a bit. I did take notes shortly after the race, reviewing the footage, and for the most part, I kind of worked from those notes, but also I did catch some things just now looking back that I'll probably bring up here as well. This was the Fitchburg Festival of Speed, as you can see. They called it the State Championships of Crit Racing, so I don't know if anyone can say that. This is the Masters 4-5 race. It was pretty early in the morning. Like I did with the previous videos, I'll be fast forwarding through some of the boring stuff and then just putting the regular speed for things I want to call out. Right now the video is sitting at like 20 minutes. After I do my voiceover, maybe it'll be less. I hope it's less because that feels like a really long video to have people sit through, but yeah, I guess we'll see how it works out. I will say this is probably the race I was most proud of in my first year of crit racing. So it was a video I definitely wanted to get to, and life just kept getting in the way of me getting back to the footage and putting the time into making a YouTube video. So I'm glad even though it's 6 months later, I'm glad I finally got around to doing that. So notice out of this corner already I'm doing like 700 watts. That's not ideal. I probably mentioned this in other videos, but the whole thing I've been learning about these races is you want a steady but lower effort power that you're putting out so that you're not getting tired. If you're putting out high watts and then low watts and high watts and low watts, you're going to be getting tired faster. And I think I slow it down here kind of just to get into what I'm already saying, is to notice that when I'm coming out of these corners, I'm putting out too much. I should be trying to stick around 300, 400 watts and taking the corner faster with hitting less brakes and then not having to get so hard into the power afterwards. Now the notes I actually wrote down from shortly after the race, I have that it felt slow and I need to be okay with a slower pace, which I'd always heard crit racing like, oh, it feels easy until the very end or until it's not. And this is actually, I guess, one of the times where it, quote unquote, felt easy, and yet I don't know why I was putting out so many watts in the corner, but I guess it's good that this race felt easy. I say that because the other series, I did a series of crit races, 3 of them from Tour of America's Dairylands, and there was like 50 plus people in those races versus this having like 15 to 17 people. Those races felt hard. I felt like I was in the back and I was putting out a lot of watts to just stick onto the group. So that's why I say, at least in this race, it felt easy. Oh, and I had my fiance, she's a photographer, and she was taking some footage, some pictures and videos. So I've kind of spliced them in. We'll see how those look. I have in my notes here that I didn't want to lead, because when you're leading the race, you're getting the air, like everyone behind you. The key in these races is to conserve energy to draft. So you want to be behind someone drafting and conserving power. So you don't want to be in the front unless you're trying to do a breakaway, which at this level, when I said this is the men's 4-5, that's like the novices, the people who are just starting racing. So a breakaway usually does not happen in these races because, well, one, there's not teams, you're not working together usually, and people just, I don't know, they chase back everything gets chased back. So that's why you don't want to be on the front, because you're doing more work. But before I took the front, I guess I just felt like this is a Sunday stroll and it didn't feel like a race. So again, that might have been nerves, because I look at my heart rate right now, 173. That's a big effort. Like, now that I've done some more racing on my trainer at home, a hard effort I expect to be like 156, 160. And oh, here's my name. It's cool hearing the announcer's name. So a 173 though, that's like decent work. That's something that I don't think I could maintain for another 20 laps. So why I felt the need to lead this lap, I don't know. I guess it's just experience, being able to watch this footage and say, even though I felt like this was a slow race and I wasn't putting out much watts, the fact of the matter was, look out where my heart rate was. I should have just tucked in behind someone and conserved my energy. Speaking of, that's going to be a theme, I think, of this race, is I have trouble tucking in. Because when I was in those Tour of America's Dairyland crit races with the 50, 60 people, like, there was always people you could get behind and draft off of. Here, with the smaller numbers, everyone's in this single file line, and I often found myself on the side. Like, this is great. I'm actually drafting. I feel like most of this race, I'm on the outside of this draft line, and I don't know. I didn't know how to get in. I didn't want to be rude and like elbow my way in. So I guess that's just something I got to learn more, is maybe being okay towards the back and like working it up towards the front. Also, maybe not being as, maybe polite is the term. I think a good way to describe it is that I do some sim racing, and like in motor racing, you have a guy like Max Verstappen who he picks these lines where other guys either are going to crash into him or they just have to find a different way through the corner. And now I'm saying that's like an extreme version. I need a more of a mentality to take a line and make an opportunity for myself. Otherwise, if you're always being courteous, you find yourselves right here on the outside of the draft. All the wind's hitting you in the face. You're putting out. So right now, these guys are all saving. What's the rule of thumb's like 30% of savings on power efficiency when you're in the draft. So I'm putting out 30% more effort out here in the wind than these guys. And if you look at the blue lines in the top right, that's where the wind is coming in. So right now, that last straight and this one are the two worst straights when it comes to your face in the wind. I mean, here it is again. It's just this whole last lap, and the next one, I'm out in the wind. And as it was happening, I remember that being a thought in the race, was as it was happening, I'm like, man, why can't I get in the draft? I just wasn't used to riding in a race where everyone was in the single file line, and I had no experience of how to get myself in there. Here's one breakaway that happens. This guy in the white kit takes up, passes us all pretty decent speed, and just stays out ahead a certain ways. It never felt like he was so far off that he was a risk of staying out there the whole time, and it's pretty early. We're in the first third of the race, so I wouldn't expect that to stay out all day unless this guy's just a monster, which he could be. I mean, in this lower category stuff, you don't know each other, so he very well could be in takeoff, but for the most part, I think you're safe staying with the group. I slowed this down, I think, with a note saying, like, why was I making my way towards the front with, like, under 100 watts? Which you see it dip down here for a little bit. Like, I was trying to stay off I didn't want to be in the front, but it's like 96 watts, and I'm keep creeping forward. It's like, are we going to chase this guy down or not? Eventually, the two guys do end up picking it up, and I kind of tuck in with them. And that's the other thing is, so Waukesha Animal Hospital, I think that says, that team, like there's 3 of them that have that kit, and the guy up ahead has like a white version of that kit. So they obviously knew each other, but I didn't know if they were riding for each other. So like when you're watching NorCal cycling, you would know that if they're doing what they're supposed to be, this guy would be slowing. He wouldn't be taking a pull off the front because he doesn't want to drag. He doesn't want to help the peloton catch up to his teammate who is out off the front. But the fact that he's up here kind of shows that I don't think they're working as a team. So if you heard that, that was one of the guys yelling at the other one. suffer, which I thought it was entertaining, and slowed it down for that. I slow this down here because this is when we actually catch the guy that had broken away, so he's only out there for a lap or two. And also, look at this. Oh my god, I'm out in the wind again. Maybe I'll never learn. So here I noticed this guy revving it up, and I happened to be also putting a good amount of power out, so I just kind of followed him off the front. Now the whole time I'm out here, I have this dilemma where do I want to do a pull with him? Do we want to work together? Because if we were working together in a breakaway, he would do a pull, and then I would go in front of him, and I would pull him. He would draft behind me. So it's basically you're taking turns drafting behind each other. The person in front's putting out more effort, and you're trying to create distance between yourselves and the peloton behind you, the group of bikers behind you. Or the other thing is, I'm just going to hang on his wheel and take a free ride and get a breather, which I do. Notice my heart rate is already in the 160s, which most of the rest of the race it was closer to 170, so I actually am getting a breather. When you're out alone like this, it's easier to take the corners at a higher speed because you're not worried about hitting other people. I'm not hitting the 700 watts out of the corner like I was when I was in the group trying to keep up with everyone. So it's definitely, you're able to take a break when you're not fighting 3 wide through the corners. I'm also looking back here to, there's something cyclists will do where they'll flick their elbow when they want you to take a turn. I am watching to see if he does that, and I didn't see him doing that at all. So at this point the riders behind us have caught up, so we're all in a big group again. I slow this down because although looking back it doesn't look like much, this was actually one of those corners that felt like it was almost an accident. You kind of hear some guys yelling, and one guy takes the corner bad, which kind of like, because of the congestion, gets worse and worse. The bikes behind feel it worse than the ones in front. One thing I noticed on this lap is that my heart rate is like going down below 150, so I don't know if I was consciously taking a break or if the pace of the pack just slowed down a little bit and everyone was like taking a break together, but I think that definitely helped the ending the race. I was able to, well, for better or for worse, I had energy at the end of the race. We can get into that later. So here's a little incident. This guy in front of me wants to drink from his water bottle, and like I said, this is a novice category, so you see him kind of lose a little bit control. He gets yelled at. Almost wipes out. Gets yelled at again that if he can't take a drink to get rid of his water bottle. It can seem harsh, but I also get it. We're all in a race. Everyone's nerves are on edge, and that guy kind of put people in danger, you know, so yeah, he got a little earful. It happens. After the race is over, everyone's in more of a friendly, bantering mood, but before and during the race, people take it pretty seriously. And I mean, they should too, right? It's so easy to, one thing goes wrong and all of a sudden a bunch of bikes are hitting the pavement and you've got a bunch of road rash, maybe some broken collarbones. I mean, you race enough, these crit races, and you're bound to bury your bike. You just hope that it's just some road rash that you have to deal with and not a broken bone or not something that takes a lot of recovery. So you'll notice here I am leading a lap, and it just so happens it's a lap that they have a preem, which a preem is whoever crosses the line on the next lap wins the amount of money. You can hear him announce it's $25, which sucks that it's after the race I led, but I did get some nice photos out of it. So the fiance was at the finish line. I did get a picture of me leading the peloton, which is one of my goals for the race. which is in its own way a preem for myself. But now these guys are racing pretty hard here on this lap to whoever crosses the finish line gets the $25, which is probably close to the entry fee for the race. So the guy in the confetti-looking shirt up ahead took it, and I guess they have a decision at this point. Do they want to keep going hard and do a breakaway, or come back and take a breather? Which I think they decided to come back and take a breather. 4 laps left in the race. We'll fast forward till the last lap here. So this is the bell lap, and you can see me make, yet again, an amateur mistake. I find myself in the wind, and instead of tucking back in, I don't know, I just have all this energy, and I'm like, let's fucking go. So I think I can sprint from the bell, which is ridiculous, I'll tell you now, in case it wasn't obvious. So I'm putting out, I don't know, 400 watt average. And this is an uphill. Like I said, it's so I'm into the wind, into the uphill. I've basically done these guys work for them. Like, they're just catching a draft behind me. I wish I had a backwards cam so we could see if I actually did make any distance on them. What's likely is they're taking a draft, saving their energy as I do the hard stuff. And now they're going to go sprint at the end because they're smart and they waited to sprint. So I did kick it into a higher gear. Apparently I had some more energy left and caught onto these guys. So you'll see as we approach the final turn here. I think the key to this race was being in first in the final turn. Like I said, I set these guys up. I'd love to have podium top 3, but spoiler alert, I do get beat at the line by a guy that had beat me at the line in a different race this year. So yeah, there it is. I'd have done a lot better if I'd have waited, if I'd have drafted until the opposite side of the course when you're out of the wind and the uphill. Here's the finish from a different perspective. I'll even do a slow motion replay of myself getting destroyed here. That is Kevin Bania? Bania? Not sure how you pronounce it. I've since friended him on Strava. He also outsprinted me when we raced at Grafton earlier in the year. So, yeah, good for him. I hope I learn more from my mistakes this year and have better sprints next year. I will say, in closing, I've 4th place for the State Criterium Championships is great for my first year racing. I felt pretty good. I mean, they even had a podium that was up to 5 places, so I actually got my picture and stuff, even though I guess it's not a traditional 3-person podium. So yeah, I was happy with these results. Obviously I have a lot to learn. I'm looking forward to racing next year, which is actually coming up right around the corner.